So there's a lot to unpack in this diagram, or these sets of data. This goes back to what I was indicating at the beginning of the passive house has a succinct way of expressing their standard, but it's not very intuitive. You also got to remember that the passive house, these numbers are based on source energy, and what's used at the house is referred to as site energy. So we have site energy usage, and in our case with the Gable home, we have site energy generation. And into the passive house planning model, there's a number of different factors that they put in that help adjust the model. Source energy basically refers to the energy as it comes from its source. In terms of electric, this is probably coming from a power plant. And the passive house planning package kind of penalises electricity more than other resources. Basically because there are some losses from the generation point to where it's actually getting used in the house. So this is the factor that they have here. I've got a kind of a diagram that indicates this is the kind of calculations that go on sort of in the passive house planning package, calculating what site energy is, referring it back to what the different scaling factors are used by the grid or site, and then these are numbers fed in from real data from the Gable home. But in this conversation, I want to get a little bit beyond that and bring us back to numbers that are closer to what the lay public would understand. And so what I'm looking at here is taking the principles of the passive house standard, applying an energy, the inefficiency factor, and then looking at it in terms of the square footage issue. The passive house standard, because it's based on square footage, the bigger the house, in a way, the more budget you have to play with for your energy needs, which for me I find that a little bit difficult to deal with. I think it's a little bit unfair. So I kind of put this more in terms of occupancy, and what I've tried to do through these numbers is get to a baseline that is kind of comparable for everybody. And the number that I came up with for electric from grid would be about 2,500 kilowatt hours per year. This is kind of a nice number to try and aim for per person. And so those numbers will grow as the occupancy gets bigger. And then on the other side of that, what we're also seeing in here is the different costs in the different countries for each kilowatt hour. So in the US, it's approximately, with a close reference to Illinois, about 11 cents per kilowatt hour, 13 pence in the UK, and in Germany, you're looking at maybe 27 euro, 0.27 euros. So over the time, so that you can also see that through different countries, there's different ways of paying for that cost. Stepping back from that and then looking at these different requirements, and if you're moving into looking at a net positive building or zero rated PERS building, you need to bring in that PV generation. So based on these different sizes of houses, different occupancy levels, I've also factored in the kind of kilowatt of PV that you should probably aim for a house of those different sizes. And the question that we always get asked is what's the payback period, and what is the initial down payment? So that is also seen down here. So these are the sort of the kind of the big takeaway of what you may want to aim for if you're looking for a house that is moving towards that net positive future. There are other options other than generating your own power. there are options out there of buying a renewable resource from the grid. And so in the next few slides, I'm just going to show what is possible on that. So this is just my own personal electric bill, deciphered to try and work out what percentage of it is like a service charge, a standing service charge. Some of it ties into what my kilowatt usage is, but not all of it. So here we're just seeing that the service charge and taxes account for 40% of the bill. The rest is somewhat related to my usage of kilowatt hours, although only 38% is actually the usage itself. So these are those options that I was talking about, that you can go through the internet and find different suppliers. This is something that I searched for back in June this year to see if I did want to take that option in Illinois, what was out there. And there was one company that was selling renewables. The price per kilowatt hour was more expensive, but that was possible. I checked again yesterday, and there's no supplier who's giving renewable access to energy or supplying renewable electricity to customers in our location right now. It does open up, again, back to buying your own solar array, and the option that they talk about in this website is how you can have what they're calling zero downs solar. It's essentially a leasing agreement where you pay back the purchase cost monthly rather than in one lump sum. And they give some guidelines as to who this would benefit, what kind of homeowner would benefit from this kind of arrangement. They talk about if you already have $150 per month usage, you may want to consider it. Also, if you have an electric car, that's also another way for thinking about moving to your own production on site. In the UK, the options are much greater. You have a much more active market. This actually is the postcode of the conference that I gave earlier this year in the I4 series. And looking at there, I think I found maybe 20 companies that would give you a number of different options, either fixed or variable rates. But all of these are green or environmentally rated suppliers. You can look at what the fuel mix is and where it comes from, some of it being solar, some of it being wind, and some of it being hydro. But just goes to show that around the world there are different markets, and so it's a question of getting what is available for you and getting the best match for your own condition. And then the breakdown, this is the kind of cost, so you have your monthly charges, your daily rate charges, as well as your usage charges. This is just one company that I felt was somewhat in line with the aspirations of me in terms of it was marketed towards maybe my lifestyle. And so this is kind of a bit more active in terms of trying to get people on board with solar power or renewable power without going to the expense of generating or installing their own solar system. So that kind of wraps up the presentation. If you want to find out more about the house, this is one of four houses that we've built, and they all perform slightly differently. They all have taken on sort of the legacy of the research that's gone on at Illinois, right back from the 70s when we were building what we call the low-cal houses, right through into how the passive house movement in Urbana has influenced design. This is the 2009 house. The 2011 house was about twice the size of this one, and but it used very similar principles and also worked with very similar air conditioning systems. So if you want to find out more about the house, please go to the website where you'll find that information, and if you have any further questions, you can also contact me directly.